Aballe, and I am a gallerist, and I run a gallery called Wil Aballe Art Projects. I can't make art. I'm terrible at art, but I kind of got into art because I was collecting art. So I've always felt an affinity to like seeing a work of art and feeling a connection to it and understanding it and choosing it. And I think that there's a real sort of agency in the choosing of the work for yourself, and figuring out why a work of art speaks to you. So like that naturally kind of led to me being a gallerist, because I thought like if I have my reasons as to why I collect art, then other people who are interested in viewing art or buying art, I could also appeal to. And I thought like, well, if you could buy art, you might be able to sell art, right? Like it's the same skill set. It's the flip side of the coin. It turns out not to be the case. Like, but you know, like it felt at the time that it was doable. So that's how I got into it. So the gallery's been around for 6.5 years. And for the majority of those 6.5 years, I've had a day job. I did engineering work. I worked my 40, 50 hours, maybe sometimes 60 hours, 70 hours a week. And I would dedicate all of my evenings and weekends as much as what was required towards the gallery, and kind of did that all along. I don't really quite know how it was accomplished. So we did like 2 or 3 pop-up shows in the early years, in addition to like the 10 already in the books in the main gallery. And then we would do like an art fair. We did Art Toronto. So it was like 13 to 15 shows a year and a day job. But nowadays it's not the case. So I'm very grateful to have a little bit more time for myself and a little bit more room to breathe. The first gallery was in the apartment. The other 3 locations, I've had to do renovations. I don't like moving. Nobody does. It's very stressful. So it's a hell of a lot of effort. It costs a lot of money. And you stay in a space for like less than 2 years, and you spent tens of thousands of dollars to renovate it. It's not a great proposition. We're one of very, very few spaces that exist. And actually, like this month is devastating because there's 4 spaces that show emerging work, and they've either already closed or on the verge of closing. So Index is closed, Duplex is closing, Dynamo is closing. It's been around for like over 10 years, which is really a difficult pill to swallow, because where are people going to show? Like if Vancouver wants to have an art scene, it needs to have spaces, right? So the gallery kind of opened in response to spaces closing. It's happening again. I hope that someone else will take up the mantle and like build a new space, because there needs to be more spaces. The more the merrier, the healthier the ecosystem. The world of the gallerist really revolves around, I think it should revolve primarily around artists, and kind of like figuring what it is that artists need and how to support artists in a way. That could mean figuring out artists' intentions and figuring out what their body of work is and what they need, in terms of like showing that work to the world and building a context around that work so that people who view the show understand the work and what information is provided in conjunction with an exhibition. But also like shipping and logistics and a lot of things that are day-to-day, like really kind of like necessary parts of the job, but are probably the least fun and where like help is required. The other side of the equation is dealing with the customers. So the gallery has an audience, and over the years we've sort of realized that our audience is very much people who appreciate Canadian art, but more specifically because we show mostly artists from the West Coast, that it's this audience of people in Vancouver who care about Vancouver's art scene and want to support it and show up. It's really important to like show Canadian art outside of Canada, because Canadians make such great work, and there isn't enough knowledge out there of Canadian artists' practices. There's so much work to be done, and like I feel like Canada is very underrepresented. And it's not because people think that Canadian artists make bad work. It's just that they don't really consider it, which is I think a big issue. So there's work to be done there. So like with the artists that we work with, we like to kind of promote the work, and in promoting the work, we hope we could expand the audience so that we could have both a domestic audience and an international audience. but my name's on the door, and it sounds like I'm doing it for myself, and I am. I want this gallery to be viable, and I want myself to have a sustainable income or whatever, so I could live in this very expensive city. But in a way that's not really what it's about. Like it's sort of, it's not the reason why the gallery remains. The gallery remains because I'm able to figure out how to keep it going financially, and fundamentally I have these relationships with artists that matter to me, you know, and I want them to succeed, and I want the gallery to be around for when their careers finally lift, you know, because it takes a while sometimes. You just need someone in your corner. So I want them to be my corner. I want to be in their corner, and I want us to like support each other until like that moment where like they finally have something that they feel is a lifelong endeavor, and maybe so do I at that point, you know. It's a very optimistic kind of idea, but like you sort of hope for that at some point, you know.
Lobby.